Do, do, do. Come on and do the conga. Do. Oh, hi guys, how's it going? Wow, it's that time already. Well, today we're going to have a look at my Dua fragrance collection, pretty much the whole thing. Before we do that, you might just want to take a listen to this.
Well, I'm back on the mic with a mission to preach. I got a lot of people that I want to reach. I'm gonna help you all to smell your very best. Until I've done it, then I'm never gonna rest. The ladies will be queuing up outside of your door. There's gonna be a lot of panties on the floor. Your personality and looks become irrelevant when the women get a whiff of your man scent. Mum, I have told you not to come in my room when I'm recording a rap. You won't need a job or a house or a Rolls Royce, as long as you can make the right aromatic choice. You can trust me because I'm highly qualified. Don't ask for proof because the documents are classified. I got the Chanel, the Versace and the Dior. Knock, knock, it's Liz Hurley at my front door. I'm living life every day as I bloody like. If you don't like it, then it's time that you were on your bike.
Okay guys, so let's have a look at it. So I've got a really big collection of Dua fragrances. I was of course sent all of these for free by the company, which I'm hugely privileged to have had that happen to me. There's going to be a little shot happening now where I span across some of the ones that I've set up here in a nice little pattern. I haven't counted them, must be, I don't know, 30, 40 fragrances that I've got in my collection. So over the years, since I think 2016, Dua have very kindly has been sending me some free scents for reviews. I have always been interested in the brand since I first heard about them back in 2016, and you know, I liked the idea that they beefed up the performance reputedly of some of the really popular Creed fragrances, things like Water of Arabia, which I can't find, they're somewhere in a cupboard. That's their version of Silver Mountain Water. So I was always intrigued by what they did, and very lucky to have these fragrances in the collection. So over the years I've done many videos on them. I do agree that I'm allowed to pick some fragrances with them, and I do a monthly video, which I think is a good trade-off for me, because as you can see, I've got a whacking great collection of some absolutely sizzling fragrances of all kinds and all shapes and sizes. I don't love everything that I've tried, but I'm going to run you through some of the different categories of fragrance that they do, and let me know what you think about it in the comments. So Dua, of course, a brand started by the perfumer or head of brand Massam Raza back in 2016. I think they came from fairly humble beginnings of a kind of a kiosk somewhere, I think in LA or something like that, where you used to sell the fragrances, and they've expanded to become a huge, probably multi-million pound business now, which is incredible. They're mainly known, of course, as we all probably watching this video know, for doing so-called clones or inspired expressions, as they perhaps call them. And those are, of course, smell-alike fragrances, which smell mostly like famous niche fragrances, but also some designer ones that we'll talk about too in a few minutes. Really, really good copies in my opinion, but of course not everyone likes clone fragrances. So, you know, are Dua fragrances original in what they do? No, they don't claim to be. So if you like originality in your fragrances, then you'll have to look elsewhere. For the most part, they do have some originals. The whole debate about clones is always interesting. I'm definitely on the side that I'm completely okay with clones. I totally get why some people don't approve of them and think that it's not so fun. But I think people who compare them to fakes or anything like that, that's really not fair, because I've often drawn the analogy, you know, let's talk about watches. You can get loads of watches nowadays which are what they call homage watches. So here's a Rolex Daytona, it's by Parnis, it costs under £100, and a real Rolex Daytona costs tens of thousands of pounds. The aesthetic of this is really good. It's not illegal, it's free enterprise. It works perfectly well, it's quite good quality in the way it's made, and it's a fraction of the price. Is it a fake? No, because now you can get fake watches. That would say Rolex across there. This doesn't. It's quite clear what you're buying here. You know, you can do the same thing with guitars, Fender Stratocaster guitars. Well, many of us learnt to play an electric guitar on a clone or a copy of a Fender Stratocaster with a different brand name. Here, it's a bit different because the price difference it's not hundreds of times less, or, you know, like that. Some of these are not that cheap. But it's the same principle. It's a free market out there, and people want things that sometimes have a different brand name, cost a bit less than the real thing, but smell maybe just as good, and that is fine with me. If you don't prefer that way of doing things, where you pays your money and you takes your choice. But, I think, a fake that I would look down on would be something called Bleu de Chanel, spelt BLUE de Chanel with 2N, fake stuff that people sell. That's really bad. But this stuff, I'm all in favour of it, although, of course, maybe some of my real true favourites are going to be the actual originals that I own in my collection. But these have got a good place in my heart. So let's get stuck into it. I'll give you first a couple of examples of ones that I think are fun in different categories. So the main thing they're famous for, of course, is just a straight up copy of a really well-known fragrance. Mostly niche ones, but there are some designer ones too. So with niche fragrances, you can still buy in the shops today, but there's a Dua version. Cost-wise, 30ml bottles is mostly what they do, usually around the $60 give or take mark, some a little bit more, some a bit less. There's often a discount code of like a Dua 15, etc. on their website. I will link them out of courtesy, and so that knocks the price down a bit. I think they ship, they ship to me, so I know they ship worldwide, so it's pretty good, but obviously you have to wait a little while to get it from the USA to come over here in the UK. Okay, so let's get stuck into it. Some of my favourites then, which are just a straight up clone of a fragrance I really like. Well, one of them has to be Royal Portugal, which is my favourite Creed fragrance, Bois de Portugal. Really, really top quality fragrance. Massam Raza, the main man at Dua, is a huge fan of Creed's Bois de Portugal. I think, unless he's changed his mind, he says it's his favourite of all time. This is very, very similar. The quality really, it honestly smells just as good to me, but it is a little bit more green and citrusy and sharper. So it's got a little bit of an emphasis on the opening notes. They're usually concentrated about 30%, so they're much more oily than your typical Creed fragrance, etc. You do notice sometimes a bit of oil on your skin, but that doesn't bother me. It's just a sign that there's more fragrance oil than your typical fragrance or cologne. Really, really superb copy, fantastic longevity, and a great substitute for those of us who don't want to necessarily splash out for a full bottle of Creed. Of course, I'm happy to have the real thing too. So that's one of my favourite just straight up inspired expressions. Another really good one, and I have the original of this too, is Fortune. As you can see, there's an old style bottle in a couple of cases here. That is a superb rendition of Naxos by Xerjoff. Just really, really good clone of that one, or inspired expression. Fantastic performance. I have got some compliments on that a while back when I was wearing it, when I was working as a guitar teacher. Got a couple of good compliments on that one. So performance on Duas tends to be absolutely stellar. They're highly concentrated and they really do deliver on the performance almost every time. The actual quality of the scents I find very good. Some of them I find more bang on than others. But yeah, overall, they do a good job, I think, of doing exactly what they say on the tin type thing. So that one, another one. I would just have one more kind of straight up copy. I think this one is a really famous one that a lot of people who are skeptical about Dua somehow tried it, or maybe got a bottle somehow and said, God, I have to admit that's really good. And it's Casino Royale. It's been out for years, and that's their take on Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Baccarat Rouge 540. So I've seen some reviewers who are not fans of clones admit reluctantly that this is a super bang-on clone of the Eau de Parfum. There's an Extract de Parfum version 2, which I think is called Casino Royal Nights, which clones the extract version, although this also would be in the Dua version concentrated at extract strength. So it's got that lovely kind of candy floss ambergris sweetness, but kind of fresh at the same time, that so many people love about Baccarat Rouge 540. So that's a real staple of their lineup that's been going for years, and yeah, it is good stuff, I've got to admit, guys. Okay, and it kind of, for me, occasionally I feel like smelling like that, but not enough to actually get the real thing. So I'm really, really lucky to have that as a great, great alternative. I don't think I'm missing out much in terms of the smell. A type of thing I'm going to leave out actually from this video, more or less. They have another range called Encounter Scents, which are original creations, sort of in the designer fragrance style, which take aspects of maybe some of your favorite designer fragrances and kind of mix them together and amp them up. So this one, Romantic for Him, has drawn similarities again to Baccarat Rouge 540 with a sort of fresher lilt to it. And these come in bigger bottles, I think they're 100ml. So they're not the things that I go for most, because they're very mainstream designer type smells and I'm a bit of an old fogey. But I think for you younger folks, if there's any watching, these represent, if you want your compliments and all that, these do deliver in a really good way on the compliment type factor. I would imagine, I haven't tested them out in the club though, guys, so you'll have to forgive me. Okay, moving on then. Another thing that's been really huge for Dua is their hybrids, which was just such a good idea. So many people over the years have had hybrids, or let's say layering combinations that they do with well-known niche fragrances. And a really popular one, for example, was Creed's Aventus with Virgin Island water, which I'm lucky to have the original of both fragrances. So Dua have brought out some of these kind of, if you like, pre-mixed versions, like your gin and tonic pre-mixed in a can. Unfortunately, those are never quite as nice as a gin and tonic you would make yourself. But these hybrid fragrances that they do, I think do a really superb job. So this one here is it's probably still my favourite. Poseidon in the Caribbean. I'm not doing a great job with the label there. And this one is a combination of the fragrance notes of Creed's Aventus and Virgin Island water, and it's absolutely stellar. It captures all the best freshy bits, the pineapple and the bergamot of Aventus. Not a massive amount of the smoke, but there's a subtle hint of the base notes, and it mixes it with that gorgeous lime and coconut of Virgin Island water for an immensely beast mode fragrance. And it's kind of unique because very few people are going to be rocking that combination, and to buy the Creed fragrance in both bottles, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So I think it's really, really good that they do that. Quality of the scent, again, really superb, and I absolutely love that one. I actually wore it today. We've got hints of spring coming in the UK here, and that one sort of delivers in this kind of weather for me. So the hybrids are fun. I do enjoy them. Have I got any other hybrids for you? There's so many. I think I wanted to do Casino Elixir, didn't I? Yeah, here it is. This is again really popular. Baccarat Rouge 40 is a like, not a love for me, but I have to admit Casino Elixir is going to be very popular with a lot of people. So that's a mixture of the notes of Baccarat Rouge 540 from MFK with Creed's Aventus, and you might think it'd be a car crash, but it really works. I think the company do put a lot of effort into actually making the notes work and combine in the right way. They don't just bung half of one and half of the other in a pot and hope for the best. So this is really, really good if you want that freshness, the sort of bergamot and pineapple of the Creed fragrance with that kind of powdery, fluffy candy floss feel of the famous MFK Baccarat Rouge. Does a great job, I think. Again, it would be a bit of a compliment monster, and again, it's kind of unique. Not many other people are going to be smelling quite like that. So I love the hybrids. There's absolutely tons of them. They started doing triple ones, much more obscure fragrances. I mean, you could criticize Dua. Let me give you some negatives, because there are some. The rate at which they pump out some their fragrances is really high, and you have to sort of say, well, if you're really into the art of haute perfumery and spending months perfumer making a passion project of a perfume, or Dua pumping out the many, many perfumes that they do doesn't fit into that category. Also, of course, the presentation here, quite nice new label style they've had for the last few years, but yeah, it's basic compared to a really good fragrance. And of course, there are other brands out there who do cheapo clones, some of which are also quite good. Perhaps not quite as long-lasting as these, and I don't think what the ingredients that some of the affordable houses use are quite as high quality as these, but there are some from the affordable houses that are really good. And these guys here, they're not super cheap per mil, so that is a common criticism, and I do get that. Okay, moving on then. So that was the hybrids. The other one that I really, really love is when they bring back a forgotten gem or a discontinued gem, and this is a superb example. Vert Instinct Creed's Green Valley, 1999 fragrance, now discontinued. Absolutely amazing. I've never smelled the original. It's a bit like Green Irish Tweed, but even more green and spring-like. Just fantastic, really verdant, fresh green grassiness with some floral tones. Exquisite, beautiful stuff, long-lasting. Again, a lovely, lovely fragrance for the springtime. I'll give you my absolute top one is probably their recreation of By Man, the legendary discontinued fragrance from Dolce & Gabbana. Long discontinued. I'm privileged enough to have a bottle. Pour On by Dua is bang on, I promise you, to the original By Man. So if you can't get this, and you won't find this for a good price on eBay unless you're incredibly lucky, it's always hundreds of pounds or dollars. Pour On has brought it back to life, and even if you don't like clones, surely you can't argue with that. Likewise, River Fougere, same thing with Rive Gauche Pour On from Yves Saint Laurent, the famous shaving foam type can. Smells like the best shaving foam ever. Recently discontinued even in its reissued form, which was a square bottle. And River Fougere, again, I've got both, I've compared them. You won't notice a difference except This one is more highly concentrated, so you'll get a tad bit better performance as well. And thank you to Dua for resurrecting that fragrance. I absolutely love River Fougere. So one more category left, is there now? I'm thinking, yeah. Oh, should mention one of my earliest ones I really loved, Imperial Pastique. If you like Millesime Imperial, superb. Just about edges out the Armaf one, is the clone of the same thing for me, because it lasts even longer. It's beast mode Millesime Imperial. Back to the good old days when I first started discovering Dua fragrances with that one. Okay, finally, they have original fragrances. Yes, they do, guys, believe it or not. Here's a great example, Flagship. Absolutely, this is that special kind of plaque they have on some of them. Really, really good label. Flagship, well, it could be an apt name because it would be a good flagship fragrance for the brand as a great, great freshie. Superb, zesty citrus. It's like all the citrus notes you love. It's like they took every little bit of the orange leaf, the petitgrain. They took lemon verbena, they took bergamot, maybe even a hint of lime. And they've got this kind of crisp white musk. If you like things like Creed's Pure White Cologne or Xerjoff's Neo, it's got elements of all that kind of really amazing, beautiful citrus stuff. It lasts really long, and it is absolutely a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. I actually love Flagship, and I need to wear it a little bit more often, actually. It's easy to forget when I have so many fragrances, all the good ones that I have. I'm not going to really do any more originals apart from one. It's not an original, but it's one of my favourites from Dua, Best Citrus Ever. It's almost like an original because it's a Henry Jacques fragrance called Iroir, which I think you can't find anymore. I think it might be discontinued. Don't quote me on that. It's an exquisite citrus aromatic, kind of reminiscent also of spicy things, maybe like Chanel's Pour Monsieur, Armani Eau Pour Homme, that kind of thing, a little bit. A classic gentlemanly citrusy type of fragrance for me. And Massam Raza christened it Best Citrus Ever because he felt it was the best citrus he ever smelled in the original Iroir. So because that's so hard to find now, we'll call it almost feels like a Dua original because I only ever smelt a tiny drop of the incredibly expensive original. Superb stuff again for spring or summer. That one. Oh, That's Amore. Their rear rendition, I think it was Begum, a Xerjoff one. Some of these really exclusive ones that don't hang around long by people like Xerjoff and Roja, only available in Russian airports or whatever. They bring those back to life, and that's an example that is actually really nice too. So guys, let me know down in the comments below what you thought about that, my Dua Fragrances collection. I really appreciate you joining me. As you can see, I don't just review these and then flog them on eBay. I cherish them and keep them. Thank you, Dua. I find them a really good brand. Not perfect. There's things to criticize them about them, but I'm happy to keep including them on my channel because I like to do everything. I do vintage, I do niche, I do designer, and I'm happy to review clones. They're products. Of course, fragrance is an art too, but it's, you know, most of you guys are potential customers interested in finding out things you might like. I do tend to mainly talk about things I like because positivity is more fun, and there aren't many fragrances that I really think suck. You know, even Invictus or 1 Million, I don't care for them, but I'd still rather spray them on than nothing. So that's why I'm not always as negative as some reviewers, and you may find that annoying. But there you go. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next video. Remember, whatever you're doing in life, let's project. Bye-bye.